Hello, my name is Dean Contover, and this is the Current Buzz. Thank you for watching today. Today we have Gordon Halm, and he's the Executive Director of the American Community Center of Lowell, Massachusetts.
Oh, the African Community.
African Community Center. I'm sorry, correction. You know, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. You know,
That's okay.
I can see this is going to go very well.
Yeah.
Gordon Halm, you live in Lowell, right?
I used to live in Lowell, but I moved to Drake.
You escaped.
Yes.
Okay.
No.
You escaped from Lowell, and you now live in Drake, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And you work there every day at the African Community Center.
Yes,
right,
great.
Yeah. We're going to talk about things African, what's happened in the African community and in Lowell, which I think is an upcoming community. I think that Gordon is one of the leaders. Everybody flocks to him. The Congresswoman, the councilors in Lowell, they all know Gordon. And so I decided that I would have Gordon on my show, and we would talk about things African and African Americans. And you're from the country of Ghana, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, and when I met you, what did I first say to you when you said you were from Ghana?
I'm sure you made a reference to Jerry Lawrence.
I said Flight Lieutenant.
That's right, Jerry Lawrence.
Yeah. Flight Lieutenant Rawlings was
a former head.
A former head of state of Ghana. And he took over in a coup, am I correct? Coup d'etat. And what happened was he eventually became leader of Ghana. And at one time he was very radical, but has mellowed out when he became president of Ghana. For how long? It was a long time, though.
It's a long, yeah.
It was, I don't remember how many years.
Said 2 times.
Okay. And you came to the United States. How long have you been in the United States?
Almost about 24, 25 plus.
Okay, good. And you went to college here? You had an education here?
Yes, I got my GED here and went to Middlesex Community College.
Right.
And proceeded to UMass Law, where I had my master's degree.
Oh, good for you. That's great. I think that's encouraging. Now, where did you learn English, and how did you learn English? I mean, your English is impeccable.
Oh, I'm always learning. Well, thank you. But growing up, I did grow up in a town, in a very small town called Winneba in Ghana. And I went to elementary school as everybody else, and so that's where I went to. After the elementary school, I went to a secondary school.
Tell me about your elementary school. I want to know, did it have air conditioning, or did it have running water, or did it have electricity? I mean, tell me these things, because it's very important that people know this.
Right. Well, the elementary school, but first of all, I went to my day nursery. I went to Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute Day Nursery. That's where I started my early education, because my sister and my mother happened to work in the Kwame Nkrumah Ideological Institute.
Okay.
And so then from there, Nkrumah was overthrown, obviously. So my sister and my mother obviously have to leave that facility. And then so I enrolled in elementary school, which is a government elementary school called the Winneba Anglican Primary School.
Anglican
Primary School.
Because Ghana was controlled by the British Commonwealth, right? It's back there.
But
and you're the first African country to obtain its freedom in 1957. 57. Okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
I have 56.
Yeah, 6
and from there, that's history, right?
Right.
So you learned English in elementary school?
Yeah. So I want to get to that point of, so in my elementary school, we had no classroom.
No classroom?
No classroom. So there was a tree. I remember there was a tree outside my class, and we had the classes under the tree.
Because it was cooler?
We had a building, but you know, the student, we were so many of us, and so another class had to be formed, and that class had no classroom facilities,
Okay.
and so we started off by learning under a tree.
Wow.
So in Ghana we call it Induasi. Induasi, which means under a tree. So we have rocks, you know, all around, and that's where we meet as a children, and the teacher will be giving us a lesson. I remember at that time, Nelson Mandela was in prison at the time.
Right, Nelson Mandela from South Africa.
From South Africa.
Okay.
So what we did at the time is that we used to write letters and also donate coins. And we were sending letters to Mandela in
Did you send them gold coins?
In jail. And I remember, I mean, we couldn't write in English, you know, but the upper classes will write, will do our best to put something on the paper.
Oh, that's nice.
And we say, free Mandela. So I vividly remember those times.
Well, is it the African community in Greater Lowell want to get a Mandela statue or bust of him in the area?
That will hopefully happen, but now we that idea of the Mandela is not the focus of the African Community Center now.
That's not
I'm
the
sure,
focus.
right?
Okay.
I'm sure it will be picked up, you know, somewhere along the way.
Along the way, okay.
Yeah, but hopefully it will get done.
So you didn't have electricity. Did you have water at school?
Well, sometimes it was very, you know, we can go out, you know, about a week of no water. And sometimes we get up early in the morning around 3, 4 a.m. and have a bucket and go to the main source of where, you know,
the water.
In the
villages.
Yeah, so we walk about 4 miles early in the morning. And by the time, I remember there was a bucket, right? So by the time you get the bucket full, you fill it up.
Yeah.
By the time you get home, the water is like a quarter left.
Right.
Because the distance is splashing everywhere. Yeah, so we have gone through a lot.
Yeah, no doubt about it. See,
we take
it for granted. Yeah. You come to the United States and you open the sink and the water's right there.
Yeah.
So when you were in elementary school and secondary school, did you have to raise your hand to go to the bathroom?
Yes. I mean, you can't just. I mean, it was a courtesy.
Yeah,
you know, to the
very
professor, polite. Yeah.
British type of courtesy.
Right. So you can't just get, you know, whilst the professor is in front of you, you can't just get up and leave.
Yeah.
Leave the.
Right.
Yeah.
I would talk more about that, but I want to get on the American Community Center, the African Community Center. I want to talk about that.
Sure.
What's the mission of the Community Center?
Well, so the center, we had a ribbon cutting 2016.
Okay.
And the mission of the center is to create an impact because the community that we lived, there are a lot of challenges, there are a lot of needs that need an advocate or a mentor to step in to get the job done. And so the center is just there to help make impact, a positive impact in someone else's life so that they can also go and impact someone. So to answer the question, the mission of the center is to help parents and families navigate to the right, where they can get the right information.
The American system.
The system, right.
Yeah, it could be daunting for some people who don't know the language, don't know, you know, what to do in regards to apartments. Mm-hmm. You know, you have to pay electric bill and the gas bill and mortgage now. You're living in you know, so it's very important.
It is.
So how many Africans, not African Americans. I mean, I'm putting this in a separate category.
Okay.
How many Africans have come from Africa and live in Lowell or Greater Lowell now?
I mean, I think it would be very difficult to put an exact number, but I estimate, I would say, I think the Africans in the Greater Lowell area will be more than probably 6,000 to 8,000.
Okay.
Around that. Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot in high school. I mean, you could tell just by the names. When they graduate, if you look at the list of names, you could tell
yes.
The African names. I mean, it's not Americanized names; they're African names.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So, what is the biggest group coming into Lowell now?
Well, the biggest,
Africa.
Right.
I'm not saying biggest group presently now. I'm just saying the latest group.
Okay. So the latest group I would say are Congolese too.
Congolese. Okay.
Yeah.
So they speak French.
Yes.
Yes. So there's the difficulty. Why Congolese? What's happening there?
So
as refugees?
As refugees, right.
Oh, okay.
So I have to make that distinction.
Okay, there's a difference.
That's right.
Explain what refugees for some people who don't understand.
Well,
who come, they're not immigrants, they're refugees. Different category.
It is.
And it's very important that people understand that. They're refugees from the Congo. So obviously there's something going on in the Congo that's causing the United Nations and the United States to take refugees from the Congo, to relieve the pressure.
Sure. Okay. So the distinction here is a refugee will leave their homeland against their will.
I see.
Yeah. So it could be a political, it could be like an ethnic.
Right.
So
a tribal. Yeah,
right.
And we know that's a big problem.
Conflict, where there's conflict.
Right.
Whereas an immigrant will travel on his or her own to a different country, either for economic reason or health or education. Yeah. So an immigrant will, choose to which country they would like to visit.
Right.
But
or go to and live. Yeah.
And live. Right.
Yeah.
But as a refugee, you have to go through a processes. Before a visa will be given to you and a destination.
In Lowell, they have a large Cambodian community. They were refugees.
Back in
they were not immigrants. Excuse me. They were not immigrants, and they came as refugees specifically, not as immigrants. So it's a difference between that.
That's so true.
Now, so the Congolese are coming in and still coming in. So where do they go to? Do they go to the International Institute?
You're right.
Of Lowell, of New England, I'm sorry.
Of New England, yeah. And they have a branch in Lowell.
And they have a branch in Lowell.
Yeah, which I worked there.
Right, I know, I know, okay. You worked there, so you saw many immigrants and refugees. And asylees?
Yeah, possibly, sometimes.
Some asylees.
Some asylees.
All right. Explain asylee, because a lot of people may not. Asylee comes to the United States. They come to the border of the United States. They fly in across the border and claim that there's a problem in their nation and they're being repressed.
Right.
A good example is Hong Kong. The students there could probably come to the United States and say, hey, the police are after me for my demonstration for democracy.
Yeah.
I'm claiming asylee.
Yeah.
Right, okay, that's just an example. I just want to get the audience to understand
so
the different categories.
Right, so you have said it all. So,
so you don't need me.
So, I mean, asylee is someone who is also living their country with a fear of maybe not getting along with the current government, and then
fear of their life or their family. They have to document it though when you become an asylee, though.
Yes,
you have to document that.
Right, and you have to prove that.
Yeah, you have to prove that. Who is the largest immigrant group in Lowell or Greater Lowell? Do you know?
Yeah, it will be hard to tell, because we We have quite a number of Kenyans here,
Right.
In Lowell, and
I'm Kenyan, you know.
I remember telling me that.
I just want to explain it to the audience, right?
Okay.
I did a DNA test a few years ago with National Geographic, right? And everybody goes to this other stuff they see advertising, but National Geographic I think is the best because they do a study on it. And what I found out is that over 100,000 years ago that my ancestors came from Kenya.
Wow.
Everybody came from Africa originally, and they migrated up north of Africa and made a left-hand turn to Europe rather than going right to the India or places like that. So they made a left. So yeah, it's interesting. So that's my story about Kenya. I'm just trying to remember.
So do you know any word in Kenya?
No.
Jambo?
No. I know Mama movement, you know, when they rebelled for their freedom and so forth.
Oh, okay.
And I know President Obama's family was Kenyan.
Right.
Do you know that Obama was a Seventh-day Adventist? His family was Seventh-day Adventist?
Oh, I didn't know that.
But you knew the Christians came in and converted many people, especially the British, even the Ghana and other countries. They converted to Christianity. But his family was Seventh-day Adventist.
Oh, wow.
His grandfather became Islam because they were fighting against colonialism.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
I'm learning a lot from you,
Yeah, well,
as always. You are a man of knowledge. And
well,
so,
I wouldn't say
that's
that.
why I like to be around you.
Thank you. Thank you. He's talking about a test I took in his office. I went down to the African Community Center, and there was a test, and I hit 9 out of 12 Africans who made important movements or had important movements in Africa. And I got all the males right, and I got the females wrong. I'm sorry. I should have guessed at the females, but it was wrong guess. But am I right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, well,
Technically,
you did very well.
Yeah, for American, I guess. Yeah.
Considering.
Considering that I'm American.
I know, right?
And I was born here, right? So, do you have English language training at the center? Do you have classes where you teach people, let's say, from the Congo, English or?
Well, so with the, I remember when we started our summer program. Our summer program is this year was the 3rd year.
Oh,
so
good
when
for you.
we thank you. When we started the summer program at a time, we have refugees that have come from Congo, Eritrea, and other places that did not speak the English language. So we had volunteers that were helping in that area.
Right.
But right now, there aren't a lot of refugees coming, so that need is not
Necessary.
It's not necessary.
I see.
Yeah. But as needed, if anybody called the center and said, I want to have one-on-one English, we can provide that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
We can make a call.
Are the high school kids in Lowell High School involved at all?
Yes, we have the elementary,
okay.
middle, and the high school
You
students.
want to keep the heritage of African, like most
Very important.
ethnic groups want to keep heritage.
Right. So what happened is that, I know, from my experience of working at the International Institute where I help refugees family, my job at the time was to make sure that the children are registered in the school system. And so I work very close with the school system.
And they have their shots.
Right. They have to have the shots before they start.
Shots, right.
But what happened was that, the parents and the children at the time will not probably speak the English, considering where they come from.
Right.
And so, but the children, they catch the English language very fast.
Right, they pick it up.
They do pick it up.
Right.
And then they tend to forget the language that they came with.
You think that it might be that they don't want to talk the language that they came with? Sometimes, you get involved in America and you want to be an American, and that might be part of that?
That could easily be part of it, and so
you want to forget your heritage.
Right, and that's what. Yeah, that is very, very critical, because sometimes parents cannot even communicate with their own children because they have forgotten their language, and they can speak.
Or they don't want to speak.
Or they don't want to speak. Yeah, because certain children may look at them funny when they are speaking. But it's very important to keep the heritage, as you said.
Right.
And so the language is a very key piece that we want the children to have, to keep, and also learn the English.
And you have an African festival, right?
Yes.
Every year.
Right.
How many years has it been now?
It's a 19-year. Next year, June.
19 years.
Right. Next year, June 2020, will be 20 years.
If you're interested in African culture, African goods, right? I mean, there was stuff,
artifacts,
clothing, artifacts, go to the African Festival. You'll really enjoy it. I mean, I went and I was enjoyable. I stayed there for a couple of hours, 2 or 3 hours. You were long gone. I was still there.
You see,
and it's very important that it's an up and coming community, and they're showing leadership in Lowell and so forth.
Right.
Give me the names of the communities from Africa that live in Lowell. How many? Can you say Kenya?
We have Kenyans,
Zimbabwe?
we have Nigerians, we have Zimbabwe, we have Sierra Leones, Ugandans, Ghanaians, Cameroon,
right?
Malawans, Togolese.
Oh yeah, you have Togolese.
Togo,
Oh wow.
Guinea.
Yeah.
Pretty much we have
Liberia.
Oh, I don't know why I did forget that. I would be in trouble
I know. Monrovia, right?
Yes,
Monrovia is the capital
right.
of Liberia, and because named after President Monroe.
Right.
So some people may not know that.
Sure.
That's when a group of African Americans went back to Africa. And they still live in Liberia, and Monrovia is their capital, and they're still remnants, and they're in control of the country. Basically, the people who came from Africa.
Right.
And it's been 170 years, hasn't it? Something like that.
I think 172. I think
172 years. I mean, they've had their independence. And the flag looks like an American flag with one white star. One white star.
We'll call it the Lone Star.
Well, that's Texas. So Texas will get upset with you because they were the Lone Star State. So I'll tell you after the show.
Okay, all right.
So. Anything you want to say? I have a minute to go.
Sure. So it's very interesting. At the African Community Center, we have a children's book that we are about to release to the community. And if I may show you, this is the front cover of the book.
The front cover of the book.
It's based on true story, very inspiring. We are very, very hoping to launch it during our 3rd anniversary celebration, which I also have a flyer. Okay. It's going to be November 2nd from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Elliott Presbyterian Church here in Lowell. The address is 273 Summer Street. It's a fundraising event, and the center really can't operate without funding. So we need funding, and also we also want to expand our board of directors.
Are you inviting me to the?
Oh, you must come. You have a table.
Yeah, thank you. I have a table. Oh, wow.
So you have to bring a guest with you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.